So I guess I should start by talking about Sarah Palin. So Sarah Palin just announced her resignation as the governor of Alaska. About maybe 18 hours after she announced the revelation, a blogger made a list of all of the hypotheses that were floating around about why it was she had done what she did. And I am going to read it to you because it's relevant to my book and to what we're going to talk about tonight. So these are the 10 reasons. Number 1, she's running for president. Number 2, she's undergoing fame withdrawal. Number 3, she wants to cash in. Number 4, there's another shoe about to drop in terms of some scandal or other. Number 5, she's planning to run for the Senate. Number 6, she needs to tend to her family. Number 7, she's crazy. Number 8, she's pregnant. Number 9, she wants to, quote, affect change outside government, blah, blah, blah. And number 10, being a governor in a recession is no fun. And the reason that I bothered to list all of those off is that, he brought up this term that I sort of coined in the book, the nano story. To me, I sort of see the nano story as the fundamental unit of conversation in this sort of new media addled age. It's these tiny little bits of, news, tiny little bits of storytelling that we then obsess over for these very, very brief periods of time, and then we just abandon them and drop them. Sarah Palin herself is far from a nano story. She was the vice presidential nominee. She was, an interesting historical figure already, for whatever that's worth. But this you see in this particular story about her resigning, as governor for reasons that none of us really know. The pattern of this media uptake, where there's all of this analysis and all of this speculation. It happens incredibly fast, incredibly feverishly, and then the destiny of all of these stories is to flame out, because how long can you talk about something where there's no more information to give? Another great recent example was Susan Boyle. I'm not sure how many of you followed these videos of this woman in Britain who was on Britain's Got Talent, which is sort of their version of American Idol. In the UK, she was an actual television sensation, but here it was through YouTube and people forwarding these videos around. Within just a couple of weeks, you had 2 million people looking at these videos of her. And it wasn't just that she became a sort of micro-celebrity in this brief window of time. It was that she became a symbol. You had USA Today and all of these bloggers writing articles about how she represented, the excesses of a youth and beauty obsessed culture, or, the transcendence of a certain kind of old-fashioned music. But of course, inevitably, before she even loses in the later round of the competition, it's as if there's no more talking that we can do about these little stories, and so they die out. So the nano story is the kind of basic. It's the phenomenon that sort of got me thinking about this. And part of what I'm trying to do in this book is essentially look at viral phenomena, but not just phenomena that spread on the internet. These very, very small stories, whether it's an email that gets forwarded around, or a video, or some new band or some new writer, all the way up to presidential candidates and political information or misinformation, big narratives about our culture. The way that all of these things behave in a sort of similar way, especially in the age of the internet, where there's so much speed and there's so much participation, meaning that there are so many people out there looking for new things to tell us all about. Now, he mentioned the flash mobs. The experience that I had that got me very interested in the internet and how it spread stories was that in 2003, sort of on a lark as a kind of social experiment, I sent out an email that was from an anonymous webmail account called, the Mob Project at yahoo.com, and it essentially asked people to join an inexplicable mob in Manhattan for 10 minutes or less. And I had no idea how many people would show up at these events, but literally by the second event, I had more than 200 people there, and by just a couple of weeks later, I had 400 or 500 people showing up at these events. So people were incredibly drawn to this this kind of self-conscious, winking attempt to bring people together for no reason at all. What surprised me even more was that they spread all around the country and all around the world without me doing anything. People would just start emailing me and say, well, are you going to do this in San Francisco? Are you going to do this in Seattle? And if not, can I steal your idea? And of course, my response was, well, it's not that much of an idea to get people together for no reason, steal away. And so, yeah, sure enough, within the span of just one summer, they had happened on every continent except Antarctica. And so I, who have been working as an editor at Harper's Magazine, a very, old-fashioned, very literary, long-form, narrative magazine, suddenly became really interested in the internet and the way that it was sort of changing the way that we talk to each other, changing the way that we find out about new things, and the intellectual process that sort of stimulated led to this book. As he mentioned in his introduction, I do some of my own experiments in addition to the Mob Project. Actually, in every chapter, I do one of my own experiments. He mentioned the one where I tried to, knock down the success of a young rock band. That didn't work out so well. In another one, I joined a competition to create a website that gets as many hits as possible. And it was very fun because I went around as a journalist, and met a bunch of the other competitors, but then I myself entered it under a pseudonym, and so I was able to see both sides of it, both reporting on the people who were trying to win the competition and then secretly myself, hoping that I was going to be the one. So I won't tell you how that one worked out, but that's a fun story. And then there's a chapter on viral marketing and then a chapter on politics. So I think I'd like to read just a little bit from two brief snippets from two chapters, and then I'd like to open it up for questions because I think that it's a lot easier for me to talk about this stuff when I know specifically what people are wondering about or thinking about. So the first section I'm going to read is from the beginning of the chapter on politics, where I write about Mitt Romney's dog, as he mentioned. And the section's called Dog Days. To understand American politics today, one would do well to consider the fate of Mitt Romney's late dog. An affable Irish setter, Seamus by all accounts was a beautiful creature, a loyal son of a bitch, and a friend even to cats. A picture of him obtained by the Boston Globe showed two white kittens rooting, no doubt disappointedly, in his underfur. Our future historians, however, will remember Seamus Romney from his short and surprising cameo during the 2008 U.S. presidential campaign, in which his master, the former governor of Massachusetts, was a well-funded but ill-fated participant. Seamus's posthumous star turn began on June 27, 2007, when the Globe, in the fourth part of a 7-part series about the humanoid Romney, related an anecdote about a car trip from Boston to Lake Huron, Canada in 1983. Romney had arrived at a novel solution for Seamus's transport, namely, the affixing of a dog carrier to the roof rack of the family station wagon. After the dog, under duress en route, unleashed a stream of diarrhea down the wagon's windows, the future governor, quote, coolly pulled off the highway and into a service station, recounted the Globe. There, he borrowed a hose, washed down Seamus and the car, then hopped back onto the highway. Within days of this revelation, Seamus Romney had transcended doghood to achieve an ephemeral media godhood. Time, the Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, the Associated Press, etc., all weighed in on him that same week. But the real fire under the story was lit online, fanned by a wide network of political bloggers who, at more than 16 months until Election Day, were already obsessively covering the campaign. Care was paid to link Seamus's treatment to the failings of the current administration. Mitt Romney will be a great commander-in-chief of Abu Ghraib, quipped the Washington blog Wonkette.
Defenders were few and chimed in somewhat gingerly. Sometimes the roof is the safest place, noted one right-leaning blog. Meanwhile, Paradis quickly created a blog called Dogs Against Romney, sporting pictures of scared pups and their fervent testimonials.